And good afternoon, everybody. It's Jordan Kimmel for the CEO channel, where we give up-and-coming companies and their CEOs the attention they deserve. And today we have Jim Voigt with us, and Jim is the founder and president, CEO of Innosoft. Jim, thanks so much for joining us today.
Well, thank you for inviting me to your show.
Well, Jim, let me just say that I know a little bit about the plan, about what Innosoft is. I think it's incredibly exciting. We're going to get into mHealth. You'll also introduce for the first time predictive health. I think it's a great story that Innosoft has ahead of it. But before we even get there, it's always the CEO and his prior successes that interest people. Without being overly shy, I know you're one of really the leading entrepreneurs to come out of Wisconsin. I'd love you to share just a little bit of your history and prior successes in the computer field.
Well, over my lifespan, I would say I'm one of the oldest entrepreneurs in Wisconsin. We've done about 30 startups. And the ones that have gotten most notoriety, of course, is the work where I do international work. And of course, I'm well known for working in the former Soviet Union. And in that area, I had started a computer company similar to Dell Computing. We had worked with Bill Gates on the software. And we were able to take these computers to the Soviet Union before we had the freedom and democracy that exists there today. So this was through the ability and persistence that I took with our government. I was told that I couldn't sell computers to the Soviet Union. So I went to Washington, was very persistent, and got the only license ever issued to build and sell computers in the Soviet Union. So this was the basis for a long-term international relationship that included not only the Soviet Union, but its satellite countries and other countries that worked with Soviet space program, where I introduced NASA to the Soviet space program. So out of this is an entrepreneur who kind of doesn't give up. And my latest adventure is Innosoft. What I realized about a year and a half ago when we founded it, actually about 2 years ago, is that we had the coming of a new paradigm shift where we had telecommunications, which I work with a man by the name of George Soros over the world with, and computers, which I had built for some 20 years, and then handheld devices. The mobile phone, as soon as, and we can give Steve Jobs, Apple, credit for giving it a screen big enough to do something besides making a telephone call.
Right.
And what I realized when he had started capturing credit cards, that you could deliver products, we say at Innosoft, at light speed. And what I wanted to do is write software to deliver products at light speed. And as we worked into this, we looked at the different market segments. A lot of people were realizing they should have apps. They're everything from banking to grocery stores.
Sure.
So we looked at what area we should enter that people were avoiding or not developing. And it became clear it was the new medical health area. We call it mHealth. It's actually been taken on.
That's the mobile health.
The mobile health. And basically we focus Innosoft on writing the apps for mobile health, but to do a very good job in health, you have to add devices. So we say we write software and integrate devices with it.
Right. Now, Jim, I had the pleasure of meeting you a couple years ago, and I remember a couple years ago you said, Jordan, there's something coming. It's bigger than what I actually helped bring forward in the PC world. This new shift towards tablet computing, smartphone. You were talking about it a couple years ago, what was going to happen, and you nailed it on the head. But delivering medical apps and something this big takes a big team. This is not only an entrepreneur. What really interested me is long before bandwidth was really available on the internet, you were already doing big projects on several continents and actually bridging them together. I'd like you to talk about that for a couple of minutes, because this next go round is going to take the talents and experience of someone who could work with different cultures.
Okay, well, and I kind of realized, I was thinking about your show, or today's taping, and realized that what we did internationally back then was what we call remote work. Today people have different names for it, but people stay in their homes. They're on the telecommunication network.
Sure.
Before the internet, they were actually would modem into businesses and deliver their work. So back about 1988, again, we had a relationship with George Soros. He did the telecommunications. George always said, when you go into a country, Jim, the first thing I grab is the telecommunications.
Makes sense,
He said people have to talk to each other.
Right.
So if I can give them more telephone lines, or I can give them mobile phones, he was right there with mobile phones, I can get the first revenue out of the country. So he was kind of our sister company, and they did the telecommunications, we did the computers and the software to give a solution. Having a wonderful private link from outside Moscow to New Jersey, to San Francisco, to Cleveland, Wisconsin, the center of the United States.
There you go.
I could manage my office of 30 people in Moscow.
Right.
Every day, anytime, day or night, I could be in contact.
Right. And work with teams on different continents.
Exactly.
And now all of a sudden there's a new bandwidth, new capability. Who knows where we go? So let me ask you this. You've coined a word I've never heard before, which is this mobile health, and clearly there's applications underway, under development at Innosoft already. But you also come up with another name called predictive health, and I'd love you to kind of talk about what the implications, what that is.
Well, people are in the normal American system, we're used to a diagnostic system where you feel ill or something's wrong, you go to the doctor, he makes a diagnostic of you, and then just some treatment.
Okay.
So when we first looked at mobile health, we thought, okay, we have to apply this system. The mobile devices have to do a diagnostic, has to give the information to a doctor, and then he has to give you a result. But as we work with research people around the world, from the Netherlands to the United States, to some well-known people at the St. Jude's Hospital, Cleveland Clinic, and at Johns Hopkins, it became clear today we have so much information that we can gather that we could do preventive things. So then we talk at preventive things, and I said to these doctors, you're not talking preventive. Preventive's like, Jordan, you're going to lose 20 pounds and your heart's going to last longer, right? That's preventive. What we came up with, and the doctors are amazed, is what we call preventive. That we would understand Jordan each day and his physical condition. And I call it medical me. So there's medical Jordan that we know, and we can see changes. Jordan had 2 cups of coffee today, and his blood pressure's up. But that's normal for him. Now he's at his computer terminal looking at stocks that went down. Well, his blood pressure's up a little higher.
Should be.
But it's still within
range.
Within your trend lines. Okay. And almost Jordan being a master of that. And I tend to think you showed me this morning a red trend line and a green trend line. That we can do the same thing for the physical person. And as long as they're trending up, it's okay. If it starts trending red, some interaction has to occur with the doctor, or even if it's severe and quick, quick things. Now we just go right to the EMT.
Well, Jim, you've talked about the long-term view, and clearly this concept of M-health and predictive health is real big, and that's, I'm sure, in the works already, but I know that there's already things really ready or nearly ready, and apps under development that the public can expect to be using soon. Share a couple things that your developers are on right now.
Right now we have about 3 very specific medical apps under development. In general, I can tell you one has to do with vision, because as people get older, and it has to do with computer vision syndrome. CVS is the term. And people staring at computers, and actually their iPhones, are affecting their eyes. So there are techniques that we can deliver through those devices to make sure they don't damage their eyes.
Interesting.
So that's kind of an idea where you impact and you kind of preventive medicine. We also have, for the baby boomers, a application that allows them to maintain their independence. A lot of baby boomers are insisting as we're getting older to stay in their homes, to be very active, to be running and doing things that are way beyond what your grandfather, my grandfather did. So we have apps associated with the iPhone or in the home, the iPad, that basically monitor these activities and are very predictive of things. We can actually predict drug interactions with these devices. And beyond that, you can just imagine that doctors have asked us for information that would allow them to be more effective. And this comes from inside the clinics, with doctors telling us the system's broken. We need information from the patients that doesn't occur every 6 months,
right,
and so forth. So we can bring that together and really paint a clear picture of their patients so they get more effective medical care.
So Jim, what's interesting too, and I want to stay on this subject, because on one hand you're responding to doctors' requests.
Yes.
On the other hand, what I'd like to bring in here is some of your management team and some of the experience that they have. And so by working on the front line, it's tremendous. I also want you to just take a minute and share. I think I've seen pictures with something that looks like the iPad, but it's actually a little bit older than the iPad, and it's floating around in space. So talk about two things, a little bit about your team and a little bit about the unique perspective they have to bring apps forward.
Well, we have a very unique team, and again, the focus of our team is our Chief Technology Officer. His name's Mike Musio. He holds about 14 key patents. The one that is probably most in people's minds, they probably don't know him, but he invented the internet phone. And so Skype, which hundreds of millions of people are making phone calls every day on, is Mike's technology.
And that's his patent.
That's his patent.
Wow.
And Mike also is the inventor of teleconferencing. So anytime you're using a conference bridge, that's not only Michael's software, it's also his design.
Wow.
And then you can imagine the other things he's involved with. Michael is also doing a lot of research for us as a full EMT, because there's an emergency medical area that can use a lot of apps. So he's key to our team. And the other part of that is we have an international group of engineers and designers that he works with around the world. Again, this idea of telecommunicating. So we have right now labs in Belarus, we have labs in Moscow, St. Petersburg, we have labs throughout the United States. We're hoping to open a lab in India, as you know. So we can bring together a lot of software power to scale these apps, because this area will grow very rapidly, and some of the apps will be ongoing modifications. So we need a lot of engineering power, we need a lot of smart people behind it.
Right. Top entrepreneur with a big team around, and what a big, important character. But Jim, let me just say that from what I've seen you do before, I think this is going to be tremendously exciting. Thanks for the time to join us today.
Thank you.
It's Jordan Kimmel on CEO Channel with Jim Voigt, the president, founder, and CEO of Innosoft. Thanks again for joining us.